The champagne glass slipped from my fingers, shattering against the marble floor of our kitchen as I stared at the text message on Sarah's phone. Can't wait to feel you again tonight, beautiful. Dash Brad. My wife of 8 years was screwing her cousin Brad, the golden boy who'd made our lives hell since day one. I'm Alex Thompson, a mechanical engineer who fixes industrial equipment for a living. Nothing glamorous, but it pays the bills and keeps my hands busy. Sarah works as a corporate paralegal downtown, climbing her way up the legal ladder one case at a time. We met in college, got married young, and thought we had it all figured out. Then Brad Morrison entered our lives like a hurricane in designer clothes. Sarah's cousin Brad was everything I wasn't. Trust fund baby, investment banker, owner of a downtown penthouse, and blessed with the kind of arrogant charm that made people forget he was a complete asshole. From our wedding day forward, he'd made snide comments about my blue-collar background and how Sarah married down. The worst part? Sarah never defended me. She'd laugh nervously and change the subject, leaving me standing there like an idiot while Brad smirked. Now I knew why. Alex? What happened? Sarah rushed into the kitchen, her heels clicking against the tile. She'd just gotten home from another late night at the office, apparently code for getting railed by her entitled cousin. Drop my glass, I said, keeping my voice steady. Clumsy me. She looked at her phone on the counter, then back at me. Were you looking at my phone? It lit up when you got that text. Hard to miss. I grabbed a broom and started sweeping up the glass shards. Brad seems pretty excited about something. Her face went pale. Alex, I can explain. Can you? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you've been explaining things to Brad for a while now. I dumped the glass into the trash bin harder than necessary. How long, Sarah? 6 months, she whispered. It just happened. We were both drunk at his birthday party, and one thing led to another. 6 months. I laughed bitterly. So every time he belittled me at family dinners, every time he made jokes about my job, my car, my clothes, you were already with him. Don't be crude. Crude? Your cousin's been treating me like garbage while screwing my wife, and you're worried about language? I threw the broom into the closet. This is rich, Sarah. Really rich. She started crying those perfect tears that used to make me melt. I never meant for this to happen. Brad makes me feel special, important. And I don't? You work with your hands, Alex. You come home dirty and tired. Brad takes me to 5-star restaurants, buys me jewelry, treats me like a queen. With Daddy's money. At least he has money. The mask slipped, revealing the cold ambition underneath. I'm tired of clipping coupons and driving a 10-year-old Honda. I want more. There it was, the truth. I wasn't husband material anymore. I was a stepping stone she'd outgrown. So what now? I asked. You leave me for Prince Charming? I want a divorce. Brad's already talked to his lawyer about the best way to handle this. She wiped her eyes, composing herself. We can be civilized about this. Civilized. I nodded slowly. Sure. Let's be civilized. The next morning, I called in sick to work and drove to my buddy Mike's auto shop. Mike had been my best friend since high school, the kind of guy who'd help you move a body without asking questions. His shop was my sanctuary when Sarah and I fought, a place where things made sense and problems had solutions. You look like hell, Mike said, sliding out from under a Chevy pickup. What's eating you? I told him everything. The affair, the divorce, Brad's smug superiority complex, Sarah's gold-digging revelation. Mike listened while working, occasionally shaking his head or muttering curses. That's brutal, man. But honestly, I saw this coming. What do you mean? Sarah's been different lately. Distant. And Brad. Mike wiped his hands on a rag. Remember Tom's barbecue last month? Brad was there, talking about how some people settle for mediocrity while others reach for greatness, He kept looking at you when he said it. Tom Jenkins was our mutual friend, a contractor who'd known both Mike and me for years. We'd all grown up together, played football together, been groomsmen in each other's weddings. They were my brothers. I should have seen it coming, I said. Don't beat yourself up. Sarah made her choice. Mike cracked open 2 beers. Question is, what are you going to do about it? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. Text from Tom. Hey man, heard about you and Sarah. Sorry it didn't work out. Probably for the best, though. Brad's a good guy, and Sarah deserves someone who can provide for her properly. I stared at the message, reading it 3 times. Mike, look at this. Mike read over my shoulder, his face darkening. What the hell? Another text, this time from our friend, Danny Rodriguez. Dude, Sarah told everyone about the divorce. She said you've been emotionally distant and couldn't handle her success. Brad's been really supportive through this difficult time. Maybe it's time to grow up and let her be happy. Supportive, I repeated. He's been supportive by screwing her behind my back. Mike was already on his phone. I'm calling Tom. This is bullshit. I listened to Mike's side of the conversation, watching his expression grow more confused and angry. Tom says Sarah and Brad talked to everyone at Jennifer's birthday party last weekend. They painted you as the bad guy, jealous, controlling, holding Sarah back from her potential. Mike hung up, shaking his head. They said you've been sabotaging Sarah's career and making her miserable. And everyone believed them? Apparently. Brad's got that smooth-talking thing down, and Sarah, well, she's always been good at playing the victim when it suits her. My phone kept buzzing. More messages from friends I'd known for years, all expressing sympathy for Sarah and subtle disappointment in me. Jennifer Walsh, who'd been in our wedding party, sent a particularly brutal one. I always thought Sarah was too good for you, but I hoped you'd prove me wrong. Guess some people never change. They're all turning on me, I said, scrolling through message after message. 8 years of friendship, and they're taking her word over mine. Not all of them. Mike cracked another beer. I know you, Alex. You're not perfect, but you're not the asshole they're making you out to be. Thanks, but it doesn't matter. Sarah and Brad have already won. They've got the money, the connections, and now they've got our friends. That evening, I sat in my empty house. Sarah had moved in with Brad temporarily while the lawyers sorted things out, and tried to process how completely my life had imploded. My wife was gone, my friends believed I was an abusive loser, and Brad Morrison was probably laughing about it over expensive wine. I was supposed to be the villain in their story, the obstacle that kept true love apart, the blue-collar loser who couldn't appreciate what he had. Fine. If they wanted a villain, I'd give them one. But first, I needed to understand exactly what I was dealing with. I spent the next week doing research, calling in favors, and piecing together the real story of Brad Morrison's charmed life. Turns out, the golden boy had some tarnish. Brad's investment firm was under SEC investigation for insider trading. His penthouse was mortgaged to the hilt, and he owed serious money to some very serious people. The trust fund was mostly gone, blown on bad investments and a cocaine habit that Sarah apparently didn't know about. More interesting was his romantic history. 3 previous relationships had ended badly, with each woman claiming Brad was manipulative and emotionally abusive. One had filed a restraining order that was later dropped after Brad's family lawyer made it worth her while to disappear. Sarah thought she was trading up for a rich prince. In reality, she'd hitched her wagon to a sinking ship. The confrontation happened at Murphy's bar on a Friday night. It wasn't planned. I'd gone there to drink alone and forget my troubles, but fate had other ideas. I was 3 beers in when the entire crew walked through the door. Mike, Tom, Danny, Jennifer, and a few others from our old group. They didn't see me at first, settling into a large booth near the back. I should have left. Should have paid my tab and slipped out the side door. Instead, I ordered another beer and listened to them talk. I feel bad for Sarah, Jennifer was saying. 8 years with that loser. No wonder she ended up with someone like Brad. Alex was always such a downer, Tom agreed. Remember how he'd complain about money constantly? Sarah's got ambition. She needs someone who can keep up with that. Brad's a stand-up guy, Danny added. Taking care of Sarah during the divorce, making sure she's got a top lawyer. That's what real men do. I finished my beer and walked over to their table. The conversation fell silent as they saw me approaching. Well, well, I said, pulling up an empty chair. Looks like the character assassination committee is in full swing. Alex, Mike started, but I interrupted him. No, it's fine. I heard everything. Sarah's the saint, Brad's the savior, and I'm the loser who held her back. Did I nail it? Tom straightened up, trying to look tough. Look, man, we're just supporting our friend through a difficult time. Which friend would that be? Because I thought I was your friend too. 15 years of friendship and you couldn't even ask for my side of the story? Sarah told us everything, Jennifer said coldly. How you made her feel worthless, how you resented her success, how you tried to isolate her from people who cared about her. Sarah told you, I laughed. And what did Brad tell you? That he tried to be supportive, but you were too jealous and insecure to handle Sarah having a male friend, Danny said. He said you accused him of trying to steal your wife. Accused him. I nodded. Interesting choice of words. What if I told you that Sarah and Brad have been having an affair for 6 months? Silence. Then Jennifer scoffed. Right. You're really going to blame Brad for your marriage falling apart? I'm not blaming anyone. I'm stating facts. I pulled out my phone and showed them the screenshot of Brad's text message. This was sent to Sarah's phone 3 days ago. They leaned forward, reading. Tom frowned. This could be anything. Maybe he was talking about a business meeting. A business meeting where he feels her? I scrolled to another screenshot. How about this one? Your husband has no idea how lucky he is. When this is over, I'm going to show you how a real man treats a woman. The table went quiet. Mike was staring at the phone with a sick expression. Those could be faked, Jennifer said, but her voice lacked conviction. Could be, but they're not. I put the phone away. Sarah's been screwing her cousin for 6 months while playing the unhappy wife. Brad's been playing the supportive friend while banging my wife behind my back. And you all bought their story without question. Even if that's true, Tom said, maybe there's a reason she looked elsewhere. Maybe you weren't giving her what she needed. I stared at him. Tom Jenkins, who'd been my groomsman, who'd helped me pick out Sarah's engagement ring, who'd celebrated with us when we bought our first house. You really believe that? I believe Sarah deserves better than someone who can't provide for her. Provide for her. I stood up, feeling something cold and sharp settle in my chest. Tom, what do you do for a living? I'm a contractor. Right, you build things with your hands, just like me, but somehow I'm the failure and you're the respectable one? I scanned the table. Danny, you're a mechanic. Mike owns an auto shop. We're all blue-collar guys here, but somehow I'm the one who isn't good enough? It's not about the job, Jennifer said. It's about ambition. Drive. Sarah wants to build something bigger. With Brad's money. With Brad's support, she corrected. He believes in her. He believes in using her. I leaned forward. But you know what? You're all going to find that out soon enough. And when you do, don't come crying to me. I turned to leave, but Tom grabbed my arm. Where are you going? Home. To my wasted life. I shook him off. Enjoy your drinks. Toast to Sarah and Brad. I'm sure they'll be very happy together. Alex, wait, Mike called, but I was already walking away. I heard Jennifer's voice behind me. Good riddance. Sarah's better off without that toxic attitude. That was the moment I decided to destroy them all. I spent the next 2 weeks planning my revenge. Not the impulsive, reckless type that ends with jail time, but the cold, calculated kind that destroys lives for good. First, I hired a private investigator named Rebecca Stone. She was expensive, but her reputation for digging up dirt was legendary. Within a week, she'd confirmed everything I'd suspected about Brad and found several things I hadn't. The SEC investigation was worse than I'd thought. Brad had been using client money to cover personal debts, and the feds were building a case that would likely result in prison time. He'd been desperately trying to find money to pay back what he'd stolen, which explained his sudden interest in Sarah's divorce settlement. More damaging was the restraining order I'd discovered. Rebecca found 2 more women who'd had similar experiences with Brad: manipulation, emotional abuse, and financial exploitation. One was willing to go on record if needed, but the real gold mine was Brad's drug problem. Rebecca had photos of him buying cocaine, videos of him high at business meetings, and bank records showing payments to his dealer. His investment firm would fire him instantly if this became public. Sarah wasn't innocent either. She'd been billing personal expenses to her law firm, padding her hours, and had recently accessed confidential client files that she had no business seeing. Her boss would be very interested to learn about these ethical violations. As for my former friends, Rebecca had dug up plenty of ammunition there too. Tom was cheating on his wife with a client. Danny had been skimming money from his shop's register. Jennifer was embezzling from the nonprofit where she worked as treasurer. Everyone had secrets. Everyone had vulnerabilities. I planned the reveal for Sarah's birthday party, which Brad was throwing at his penthouse. It was supposed to be a celebration of their new life together. Sarah had moved in permanently, and Brad had been talking about proposing. The guest list included all my former friends, Sarah's co-workers, Brad's business associates, and both families. Perfect. I arrived fashionably late, walking into Brad's penthouse like I owned the place. The party was in full swing: expensive champagne, catered food, and the kind of pretentious conversation that made my skin crawl. Sarah spotted me first, her face going white. "Alex, what are you doing here?" "Celebrating your birthday, of course." I smiled pleasantly. "Wouldn't miss it." Brad appeared at her side, looking confused and annoyed. "I don't think you were invited." "Wasn't I?" "My mistake." I looked around the room, noting the faces of everyone who'd betrayed me. "Beautiful place you have here, Brad. Must cost a fortune." "I do well for myself." "I'm sure you do." "Hey, speaking of doing well, how's the SEC investigation going?" Brad's face went rigid. Several nearby conversations stopped as people turned to listen. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Really?" "Because I heard through the grapevine that you're in some pretty serious trouble with the feds. Something about misappropriating client funds?" I spoke loudly enough for half the room to hear. "You need to leave," Brad said, stepping closer. "Now." "In a minute. First, I want to give Sarah her birthday present." I pulled out a manila envelope and handed it to her. "Happy birthday, sweetheart." Sarah opened the envelope with shaking hands. Inside were photos of Brad with other women, bank records showing his debts, and copies of the restraining orders filed against him. "What is this?" she whispered. "The truth about your Prince Charming." "He's broke, Sarah. Worse than broke, he's going to prison, and you're not his first victim." Brad lunged at me, but I was ready. I sidestepped and let him crash into a serving table, sending expensive appetizers flying. "Brad!" Sarah rushed to help him up, but he shoved her away. "This is bullshit. These documents are fake." "Are they?" I looked around the room, which had gone completely silent. "Sarah, ask him about the cocaine. Ask him about the women he's abused. Ask him why he really wanted to marry you so quickly." "Shut up!" Brad was on his feet, his face red with rage. "You pathetic loser. You couldn't handle losing, so you made up lies." "Made up lies?" I laughed. "Sarah, Did you know your boyfriend here owes $300,000 to some very unfriendly people? Did you know he's been using you to launder money through your law firm? Check your client accounts, sweetheart. I think you'll find some interesting transactions. Sarah's face went ashen. Brad, is this true? Of course not. He's lying. But I could see the doubt creeping into her eyes. She was smart enough to put the pieces together. Ladies and gentlemen, I announced to the room, I'd like to propose a toast. To my wife Sarah, who threw away 8 years of marriage for a con man who's about to be indicted by the federal government. And to Brad Morrison, who's been living off Daddy's money while pretending to be a successful businessman. The room erupted. Brad's business associates were pulling out their phones, probably calling their lawyers. Sarah's co-workers were whispering frantically. Family members were demanding explanations, but I wasn't done. Tom, I called out, spotting him near the bar. How's Linda doing? Does she know about your girlfriend yet? Tom's face went white. His wife Linda was standing right next to him. Danny, how's business? Still skimming from the register, or have you moved on to bigger scams? Danny started pushing through the crowd toward the exit, but the damage was done. And Jennifer, how's the nonprofit? I'm sure the board would love to know where their donation money is really going. Jennifer was already on her phone, probably calling her lawyer. Chaos erupted as accusations flew, relationships exploded, and careers crumbled in real time. I stood in the middle of it all, watching my revenge unfold with surgical precision. Sarah grabbed my arm, tears streaming down her face. Alex, please. We can work this out. Work what out? You made your choice, Sarah. You chose the money, the status, the excitement. How's that working for you now? Brad appeared beside her, cocaine residue still visible around his nostrils. You son of a bastard. You've ruined everything. I didn't ruin anything. I just told the truth. I smiled at both of them. You two deserve each other, really. A gold digger and a con man. It's perfect. Security arrived to escort me out, but I'd accomplished everything I came to do. As I walked toward the elevator, I could hear the party disintegrating behind me, shouting, crying, and the sound of expensive things breaking. The elevator doors closed, and I was alone with my victory. 3 months later, the fallout was complete. Brad was arrested on federal charges and sentenced to 7 years in prison. Sarah was fired from her law firm and faced her own legal troubles for the money laundering scheme. She lost our house, her car, and most of her possessions paying for lawyers. Tom's marriage ended when Linda found out about his affair. Danny's auto shop went bankrupt when his theft was discovered. Jennifer was charged with embezzlement and sentenced to 2 years probation. Mike was the only one who reached out, apologizing for believing their lies and asking if we could rebuild our friendship. I told him I'd think about it. As for me, I got a promotion at work, bought a new house, and started dating a wonderful woman named Lisa, who appreciates honesty over ambition. Life was good. Sarah called me last week, crying and begging for forgiveness. She's working as a waitress now, living in a studio apartment, and facing the reality of what she threw away. I listened to her sob for 5 minutes, then hung up. Some bridges, once burned, can never be rebuilt. Some betrayals can never be forgiven. And sometimes, the best revenge is simply letting people face the consequences of their choices. They wanted a villain. They got one. And in the end, I was the only one left standing. Standing.